Welcome back to our channel, where we share updates and untold stories about Catherine, Princess of Wales, and her royal family. Today, we bring you some news. Camilla furious, as Princess Catherine and Duchess Sophie stuns palace with royal power move. The Princess of Wales suddenly put on a tiara that had been made in the heat of Victorian love and imperial authority. This was not a simple act of borrowing from the royal vaults. It was a calculated and shocking show of intent, a flare of diamonds and rubies that showed the new lines of power that were being drawn in the shadows of Buckingham Palace. Queen Camilla was furious when she read the letter because it was so obvious. The future had come, and it wouldn't wait for an invitation. With the formal levers of power being systematically moved and old loyalties being redefined, the question is no longer whether or not a generational shift is happening. Instead, the question is, who is really in charge of the future of the British monarchy? There is no loud proclamation or act of parliament that will fix things. Instead, it is a quiet, unbreakable bond between two women who were previously thought to be on the outside looking in. It's a narrative of mentorship, shared experience, and deliberate patience. This alliance is now slowly breaking down the power of a queen and changing the institution that has been around for 1,000 years from the inside. The Crown's sisterhood's property. To understand the huge change that is happening in the House of Windsor, one must first step back from the big public events and pay attention to the intimate, unguarded moments that are happening between Catherine, the Princess of Wales, and Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh. Their bond is the most vital part of the modern royal drama, but it's also the least appreciated. This connection isn't based on the chance of being born into a noble family. Instead, it's based on the shared and sometimes isolating experience of marrying into the most famous family in the world. Sophie, who is married to Prince Edward, the youngest brother of King Charles, and is 17 years older than Catherine, has become the invisible architect of the future queen's rise to power. Royal biographers and palace insiders have been calling Sophie the closest thing to a sister that Catherine has within the royal family for a long time. This is not just a polite thing to say. It is a statement that has a lot of strategic importance. When Sophie and Catherine joined the royal family, they were both middle class and not aristocratic. Sophie worked in public relations, while Catherine was in a romantic relationship at the university. Both of them had extended courtships that the public watched closely, and they learned about the hard realities of royal life long before they got married. They know what it's like to go from being a private person to a public figure in a manner that those who were born into the purple team can never understand. Reports say that the late Queen Elizabeth II, who was renowned to be a good judge of character, requested that Sophie be a mentor for the young Catherine. The recommendation was made because everyone agreed on this. The possible princess really thought about the suggestion. The public learned about their relationship by one simple, quiet move that said a lot. Catherine made one of her first big public appearances after going through tough cancer treatment on a sad and dismal Remembrance Sunday in November 2024. Everyone in the world watched with a mix of sadness and worry as she came out. While the royal family was leaving the balcony of the Foreign Office, Sophie, who was walking behind the princess, put a loving, reassuring hand on her back. In the world of royal body language, this was a huge deal, even though it was just a brief show of solidarity that was almost instinctive. The act was not a common one. It was a sign of real love that was also protective. Robert Jobson, a well-known royal analyst, said at the time that the moment sent a strong message. A protective shield had formed around the Princess of Wales. The shield has a name, and that name is Sophie. The Duchess of Edinburgh was not only calming a friend with that simple gesture, but she was also openly linking her great power and prestige to the developing power of the next generation. By doing this, she was letting the court and any rivals in the court know that Catherine was not alone. This was the public face of a hidden deal between two ladies who had learnt to get through the dangerous waters of palace life by depending on each other. They were both practical and strong. The new Windsor dynasty is being built on the foundation of their connection. It is a basis of mutual trust that is proving to be substantially more potent than the official authority of a throne. An architect who has not been served. You should never underestimate Sophie. Even though she hasn't had as much media attention as Diana or Catherine, the Duchess of Edinburgh has quietly become one of the most skilled and respected members of the royal family. Her authority comes from the fact that she has built up an unimpeachable reputation over 20 years of hard, unglamorous work, not from the fact that she is close to the throne, where her husband is 14th in line. A former courtier said that she is the firm's indispensable utility player, which indicates that she takes on hard tasks without complaining and gets things done without causing any trouble. When King Charles and Princess Catherine were both diagnosed with cancer in 2024, the monarchy was stunned. It was Sophie who stepped up to help. Both Princess Catherine and Prince Charles were told they had cancer. During this time of great uncertainty, she became a rock of stability, working with Princess Anne to greatly expand the amount of tasks she was responsible for. The Daily Mail gave her the label of unsung hero that year, which shows how determined she was. On the other hand, her job is far more than just filling in gaps in diaries. She has built a portfolio that is both unusual and brave, and she is the first member of the royal family to visit the Democratic Republic of the Congo. She didn't go to take a quick picture. She went to deal with the horrible realities of sexual and gender-based assault in war zones. She has earned a lot of respect on the world stage because she has been dedicated to this cause for a long time and has made many trips to the area. This has given her a weightiness that has nothing to do with her royal title. This reputation, which was built up over a long time of hard labor, gives Wales a lot of political power. Sophie is someone that both governments and non-governmental groups listen to. She is building a global network of influence by supporting more than 70 different charities with a focus on women's rights, preventing blindness, and farming. This work not only backs up her point of view, but it also shows what the style is based on. This is a paradigm of modern royalty that fits perfectly with what Prince William has said in public, that a monarchy should be known for service rather than display. Sophie also has a unique bond with the future king because she was a close friend of his late mother, Princess Diana. This relationship is one of a kind and very intimate, and it offers Sophie a special place in the future king's heart. This bond, which is often ignored, has a huge emotional undercurrent in the palace. Sophie is both a link to William's history and the protector of his future, because he is known to think about the legacy his mother left behind when he makes decisions. She knows about the psychological scars that the media wars of the 1990s left behind, and she knows that she needs to protect Catherine from going through the same trauma. When Sophie stands by Catherine's side, she is not just a loving aunt-in-law. She is also, in a symbolic way, the mother that William has lost, giving him the direction and protection that he so badly wants for his own wife. Because of how important the matter is emotionally and historically, her advice is quite helpful, and she is always there for you. Danielle Stacy, who knows a lot about royal matters, told Hello that she is a Starus magazine, which shows that she is indispensable to William, and is his trusted right hand in the difficult task of setting up a new monarchy. The Emperor's Long Shadow. To understand how big the power transfer is that is happening right now, you first have to understand how big the trip that Queen Camilla, who is now losing her power, has taken. Her ascension is one of the most impressive illustrations of how someone can change themselves that has ever been recorded in modern times. For many years, she was thought to be the most hated woman in Britain. She was the third person in a royal marriage, and the end of that marriage was covered on the front pages of newspapers all over the world. She dealt with attacks from tabloids and public ridicule with such stoicism that it was hard to understand her. She lived through a level of public hatred that would have broken most individuals. Her rise to the throne taught her how to handle public relations well over a long period of time. With the unwavering support of Charles and the cautious counsel of public relations expert Mark Boland, she began a slow and difficult process of getting better. By focusing on her philanthropic work and speaking out about issues like osteoporosis and literacy, she gradually let the world see a more friendly and real side of her. She didn't say anything or give a reason, and she just kept working. Over the period of 20 years, the public's opinion slowly changed, and they didn't want to do it. At first, people thought the woman was going to ruin the marriage, but with time, she became the future king's true love. Queen Elizabeth II made one more move in her plans for the next queen. She said that it was her sincere wish for Camilla to be acknowledged as queen consort. This was the end of the transformation. On May 6, 2023, the St. Edward's crown was put on her head. This was the final proof that she had lived her whole existence in the royal wilderness. Camilla had a lot of power as queen, both officially and unofficially. She was one of just 2 people who could award royal warrants, which are the royal family's official seal of approval for businesses that work for them. The other person was the king. This is not only a ceremonial title, it is a position of great respect. It is an economic position of great importance that affects the future of more than 600 businesses in the fashion, food, and luxury goods industries. Her selections had a big impact on the royal family, including court appointments, guest lists for state banquets, and the palace's social schedule. What she said mattered, but she saw that the ground below her feet was starting to move. As King Charles's cancer treatment went on until 2025, the palace machinery, which was always worried about keeping things going, sped up the process of handing over authority. A palace source told Us Weekly that the palace was working hard to make William a leader in order to get ready for what might happen in the future. The power was not going to the queen consort because she might become a regent. Instead, it was going to the Prince and Princess of Wales on design. This is a really important occasion. It looked like the king himself was planning the rise of his heirs, which was a smart move for the stability of the monarchy. But this action always pushed his wife to the side. A fresh, brighter light was starting to take over what had been a vast shadow that she had cast for a long time. One that is decorated with rubies and anger. On the cold night of December 3rd, 2025, the stress that had been building up behind the scenes finally poured out for everyone to see. The event was a big state dinner at Windsor Castle for the German president who was visiting. Catherine, Princess of Wales, who was in charge of the event, made a bold and beautiful fashion choice. She showed up with the Oriental circlet tiara on her head. This royal jewelry is absolutely one of a kind, unlike other pieces. Prince Albert had the tiara made for his beloved Queen Victoria in 1853. It is a work of art that is set with more than 2,600 diamonds and beautiful rubies. It is a piece of music that is full of the history and meaning of the monarchy at its height, and it is a direct link to the most powerful and famous matriarch of the time. This tiara is the biggest, most beautiful, and most royal one Catherine has ever worn. It was evident that they were ready and in charge when they wore it, and they were expected to. The moment was just right. It was the end of the week, and Catherine had been the clear star of the royal show for a week. She had led her annual Christmas Carol concert at Westminster Abbey, and seemed more confident than ever. As an acting monarch, she was basically the public face of the monarchy. According to shocking information supplied to Radar Online by reliable sources, Queen Camilla was very angry. Camilla was furious that Kate wore the huge tiara, one source said, calling her reaction a clear and rude attempt to steal the attention from Kate. Camilla thought it was unacceptable that another courtier said that people were starting to think that William and Catherine were acting as if Buckingham Palace belongs to them. The tiara wasn't the cause of the fight. It was what made it happen. In other words, it was a physical sign of the fight for power. A source close to the Wales camp said that Catherine's choice was seen as a sign that she will soon be queen. This event showed how deeply different the two women's minds were. Camilla had worked hard for years to gain her job, and she felt like her position was being threatened. Catherine was only taking on the role that the institution and the king himself had planned for her. She felt sure about her future and how much people loved her. William's group answered almost right away, and in a way that was quite direct and scary. Camilla needs to deal with her jealousy and anger before it gets worse, a source said. They also said that the Queen had been told not to upset the Prince and Princess of Wales. People are more and more worried about Camilla's position. This was more than just a rumor about the castle. It was a direct threat. It was a clear sign of where the real power was at this point in time. There was no longer a need to avoid hurting Camilla's feelings. Those days were finished. The Waleses had shown that they would not be discouraged by their acts, and they had the institutional support they needed to carry out their plans. The tiara, made of rubies and diamonds, had become a crown of thorns for the Queen Consort, a glittering reminder of how her power was fading. The power that's in the hands. Even while the tiara incident was the cause of the excitement, a much more real and important shift of power was happening in the royal administration's silent hallways. In the middle of 2025, it was decided that starting in 2026, the Prince and Princess of Wales would be able to grant out royal warrants. It turns out that this change, which at first seemed bureaucratic, was really a political earthquake. The royal warrant of appointment is one of the oldest and most potent signs of the monarchy's cultural and commercial power. A warrant is a way to say thank you that has been around since the 15th century. It is presented to people and businesses that offer goods or services to the royal family. The marketing tool is invaluable since it is a sign of quality and status that people all around the world know about. For more than 100 years, this power had only belonged to the reigning king, their spouse, and, in some cases, the heir apparent. It was almost inconceivable to picture a Princess of Wales being given such a big job, on the other hand. Before Queen Mary became queen in 1910, she was the last person to go through this. Even Princess Diana, a world-famous fashion icon with a lot of power in the business world, was never allowed to use this power while she was alive. People who knew a lot about constitutional history and royal history right away grasped how symbolic this decision was. King Charles, the head of the institution, made the choice to publicly and purposefully give one of the most important gilded levers of power to his son and daughter-in-law. There was no doubt in anyone's mind that the operational center of the monarchy was moving. The aristocracy, the business world, and the ordinary public all got the message loud and clear. William and Catherine were no longer only the future, they were becoming the present. Because of this change in power, Camilla's job will be immediately affected. The fact that she signed warrants with Charles showed that she was the queen. She had been in a silent power struggle with the lady who was now sharing the power she had once held alone. This meant that starting in 2026, businesses would start to ask for the support of Catherine, Princess of Wales, so that they could associate their brands with her image and her future. Even though it was a brilliant move, it meant that the monarchy's business power would be passed down to the next generation. This made the institution more stable in the long run, while also quietly making the Queen Consort less important in everyday life. The revolution was not carried out with a sword, but with a pen stroke on an official document. It was a peaceful change. The king's plan. It would be a big error to think of King Charles III as a passive, sickly figurehead who just watches what happens in his court. This would be a really bad idea. On the other hand, all of the evidence points to him as the main person behind this change. He is not acting like a sickly king. He is acting like a smart and forward-thinking strategist who has been in charge of the crown for 70 years and is now making sure it will be around for a long time. Charles has always had a clear and often aggressive vision for the monarchy. He has been a monarch in waiting his whole life. He has been pushing for a slimmed-down monarchy for many years. This would be a more modern, cost-effective, and relevant organization. His illness has not stopped this plan. In fact, it has sped up the process of putting it into reality. But he is not stepping down. Instead, he is actively controlling his own succession in a way that very few of his predecessors have ever done. This is done by intentionally making William and Catherine more important. His work is making it less likely that the kind of chaotic, crisis-driven changeover that has plagued royal history will happen again. Charles is giving his son and daughter-in-law something he never completely had, a clear mandate and the chance to lead while the current king is still there to help them. He is accomplishing this by giving them royal warrants and telling them to keep a prominent public image. He is lowering the hazards in the future. He knows that the monarchy can only last if the public loves it, and right now, the Prince and Princess of Wales have most of the country's love. It would be like trying to kill themselves if the institution ignored them. The greatest way to make sure the House of Windsor stays around is to give them power. Also, his choice shows that he knows how things have changed in the family and is realistic about it. He knows that Catherine and Sophie make a powerful team. He sees in them the same strong work ethic and dedication to duty that he values. He knows that they have these things in common. He is also showing his approval to the group that Catherine has put together when he offers her more power. This is not a betrayal of Camilla. It is the outcome of a cold, brutal decision made by a king. He is making a conscious choice to invest in the future so that the transition goes smoothly and steadily, which will be his greatest legacy. The monarch, who has been waiting his whole life to play his hand, has made a move that is both secret and of the finest quality. A restoration of the trophy. When you look behind the personal fights and symbolic acts that are going on, you can see that what is happening is nothing less than the planned restoration of the British monarchy for the 21st century. There is no emergency in this case. Instead, there is a controlled demolition and a planned rebuilding happening right in front of everyone. Charles is laboring to make William's vision of the future a reality, and it is starting to take shape. It will be a monarchy that is smaller, more focused, and led by people who have worked hard and earned their position via popular support, not just by coincidence. Catherine and Sophie are the models for this new model. They are commoners who have shown that they can handle the very hard jobs that modern monarchy has to do better than most people who were born into it. Their strength comes from the fact that people can easily relate to them and that they are seen as real. These people are a good example of a monarchy that is not separate from the people, but rather connected to them. They have come together to establish an alliance, which means that this way of thinking will be at the heart of the next political administration. When they meet in secret, they're not just talking. They're two of the most powerful women in the country, and they're deciding what the crown's strategy will be. There is no doubt that Queen Camilla will go down in history as an important person. This is a story of great determination as she moved from being an outcast to a queen. A lot of people who used to criticize her have changed their minds since she can wear her crown with dignity and grace. Still, the story of the monarchy continues moving forward without stopping. The focus of institutions, the media, and the public's imagination is all moving away from her generation and toward the next one. Two other women are working together to make sure the organization's future, and the woman who used to be Charles's most important supporter is now just watching. In the British monarchy, open combat is not a frequent way to give up power. It doesn't just travel through symbols, it also goes through intimacy and the quiet passing on of old duties. The royal warrants will start working at some time in the spring of 2026. Even though the Oriental circlet tiara has been put back in its vault, its message is still heard throughout the castle. Sophie, Kate's sister that she never had, is also still by her side, protecting the future head of state. There is no doubt that the change has happened, even though it seems quiet. A new crown is being made right now. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts, and goodbye for now.